What we call adaptive DNS, why we're at Cisco Live, why we got Jenga stacks and walls and all types of things here. So if you haven't figured out the very obvious analogy, we actually feel like there's a lot of similarities between modern networks and the game of Jenga. You can just keep layering technology and innovation and new programs and strategies on top of something until it gets a little creaky, starts to totter and falls over. And the reason for that, frankly, is because even though all these things have been very popular and adopted over the last 5 years, 10 years, they're all being built from the network layer up onto something that frankly has a lot of flaws, the DNS network, which we call the network before the network. Surprising fact is that some of the most sophisticated companies in the world actually have DNS systems that are they're built on technology that's 40 years old. It hasn't really evolved very much. And to get to this point where you begin to implement SD-WAN and containerization and orchestration and wide area networking and network firewalls, and it's all built on this thing that one little data error causes all types of outages and it kind of comes collapsing down like the Jenga stack, which caused me intense anxiety. Why is that? Well, if you know anything about DNS, or you know who runs DNS, you probably know that the person behind it all in most organizations runs all of it out of an office that kind of looks like this. Somewhere in the bowels of the data center, down in the basement. It's not the sexiest technology in the world, and they don't get the sexiest office in the world. That person's under a lot of duress because on a day-to-day basis, they are literally trying to keep the DNS system running. They're building conditional forwarding rules to try and make sure that people can resolve queries from one part of the company to some application in the cloud. They're building custom scripts and automation programs to try and keep the system running. And that's because DNS is pretty old. It's a really powerful protocol. It was built for scale, but it was built in the 80s. It hasn't moved very much. You might know that there's a problem when you start to hear some whispering around the water cooler in the IT department, things like this, these actual words that we hear from prospects we talk to. This network guy says he can't even get to the origination point for a DNS query. He doesn't actually know who's making the query, whether it's an internal east-west query or north-south out to the internet, because of the way that the DNS has been built over the years with all of these forwarders that drop the originating IP address. And guess what? When the network security guy comes knocking on the network guy's door and says, I need logs, I need the DNS logs, they can't actually produce what they're looking for, which is the originating device for the query, which can tell you a lot about intent, and intent is key to security. Or they say things like this is the actual word for word transcribed. This guy was bemoaning the fact that he's got one guy named Drone that works in the IT department that actually knows how the DNS system works because he's architected over the last 25 years using Band-Aids and bailing wire. You know, he's built all these conditional forwarding rules, and if Madrone gets hit by a bus, the place is in trouble. Nobody actually knows how the DNS system works. So obviously, this doesn't sound like a modern software technology. It's not how business should run today. Certainly not at the speed that business is done. So that's what we're talking about, a new approach to DNS we call adaptive DNS. And it's got some principles that frankly are not revolutionary in 2019, but a lot of DDI systems, as DNS, DHCP, and IPAM, don't really live up to. That's dynamic, open, secure, scalable, and automated. Dynamic because today's networks are fluid. It's fluid reality, right? There's IP devices, IP being allocated on the network all the time. You got IoT orchestration, thousands of new devices come out of the network, and the DNS system has to keep up with that. It's got to be open. It's got to be API-first software because DNS plugs into so many other mission-critical IT systems, okay, like Cisco DNA. It's got to be secure because, honestly, there's no more favorite point of failure for cyber attacks than DNS. It's like a favorite target for hackers because it's kind of a naive system that just provides an answer no matter who's asking. It needs to be smarter in order to be more secure. It's got to be highly scalable. We're talking about billions of queries per month at very large enterprises. That scale is absolutely required because when the DNS system goes down, pretty much life flickers and comes to a halt. You guys know that. And finally, it needs to be automated. We did a survey that suggests that up to 30% of network admins' time is actually spent manually configuring DNS, providing IP space and subnetworks and DHCP scopes to the business. And that's just crazy. Spend 30% of time doing this thing that's, quite frankly, low value. It's got to be automated. We do that with what we call adaptive DNS. And the first thing that we do with adaptive DNS is take DNS out of the data center to the edge of the network where the action is. Okay, it's been a long time an appliance-driven business in the data center. What we do is we put these really smart, lightweight service points throughout the network right at the client, facing the client. So you get the originating IP and log that. And when you know the originating IP, you can do some really smart things. You can steer traffic the most optimal route, provide internet breakout. You can provide smart policies to make sure that, you know, those security cameras aren't suddenly doing queries against Google or PayPal because they've been affected with malware, right? You can lock that stuff down. The other thing we do is build it from the ground up to deal with the reality of today's hybrid environments. Like DNS was architected at a time when everything ran through the core of the old hub and spoke model, but that's just not the reality today. We've got DevOps spinning up new applications and services in a mix of clouds, hybrid clouds. And DNS has to deal with that reality and treat it all as the corporate network. And so that's what adaptive DNS does. I talked a little about security policy, right? DNS has to be right at the IP, right at the originating point, so you can apply those smart policies to protect users from doing harmful things, log all that data, so you can give it to the network security team. And finally, it needs to be highly automated. So you do things like remediate threats, analyze data, integrate with other mission-critical systems that we talked about. Now, all of these things that I'm talking about are built on DDI. Okay? Old school DDI needs a facelift, and that's what we've done here. So, surrounding our core platform, which is resilient and survivable, is these applications for intelligent networking, intelligent automation, intelligent security. And if you're interested in checking out any of those, step around in the back side of the booth here, where much more handsome people than me will give you awesome demos. Okay, this is what our network diagram looks like. I won't walk through all of it other than say, here's the core. Oops. Here's the core over here. We built our automation platform. We call it Gateway on top of it. That connects to Cisco ACI and DNA. Our intelligent security, we're working on integration with Cisco Umbrella to pass that originating IP to them for smarter security policies. And finally, our intelligent networking suite, which you see a demo of, which can do interesting things with applications like Cisco Meraki. 3 points of integration with Cisco that we're talking about today. So, thank you very much. I appreciate it. You guys have been a great audience. I hope you're having a great Cisco Live. And if you'd like to get a t-shirt, and you didn't just stand here to listen to me, I'm not hurt. My feelings aren't hurt. It's okay. Head over here, and my good friend David will give you a t-shirt. Size you up. Thank you.